So yeah, so in my life so far, I've had a lot of different titles, but the proudest title of mine was being a media art student, as I was focusing on electronic and media art when I was here at EmilyCarrU for 2 years, and I'm still am a multimedia artist wannabe. So throwback to this time in 2019, I was stressed about building my grad show performance, which is called Directions of the Tide. It was a very complex installation and a 20-minute audio-visual performances. So as you can see here, I had tides projected onto the floor. And then when participants are in the tide, kind of like the first trial in the picture, it will change its direction based on where you're standing. It sounds like a very complex project to build, and it was indeed, but it's been an idea I have in mind for years, and then an idea I wanted to let other people see the images inside of my head as well. It was fairly tough to build. I have to say I lost 5 pounds within 2 weeks for building this. And so the tide I have in mind has to change shape accordingly. So I had to come up with a graphic style and then the code to let it fluent, very easy to change. And then when people are present, the tide has to change its direction based on where you're standing. So I probably need some motion tracking to detect where you are. So well, with that, I ended up using a Kinect motion sensor that detects your position and send the data back to the computer. Then I use this data to make 60,000 particles, which I'm rendering 60 times per second, and make them move differently, so you will see them changing as the shape of a tide. Honestly, 3 years ago, if I had already figured this all out, I would never probably have the courage to build this. I really wanted this vision to be a reality and make people see my work. But if I had thought about all the things can potentially go wrong and the long list of potential failure, I know I would never have the courage to take the step and then try. I'm sure many of you have seen a lot of inspirational movies about incredibly successful entrepreneurs, athletes, or businesses who started from nothing to everything, and then were in awe of their accomplishments. But what we're not shown are the tiny steps were taken behind the scenes. The idea of sprinting to success seems like so deeply rooted in our mind and culture that we feel pressure to go from zero to hero. And going from zero to hero actually takes a lot of time and practice. With the pressure that we have to put on ourselves to be perfect on the get-go, we'll easily limit ourselves the opportunity to see what's possible and step beyond our tipping point. And now we've been in this pandemic for 2 years. We've been stuck at home all day, every day. So I'm just curious to know, by showing hands, any people thought about starting maybe a side project throughout the 2 years? Yeah, I see a few. How many of you actually started doing it? Cool, yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, a lot of friends of mine, and myself included, are not that lucky then. We were in the same situation. So a lot of us wanted to start a vlog. Some of us wanted to start making pottery, or some of us starting to think about, should I learn how to draw illustration? But I found like most of my friends and I, well, we didn't even start it, myself included. I really love the guitar I bought 2 years ago, and it's been really amazing piece of decoration of my apartment right now. My roommate is here in the audience, she will know that. And then I wanted to learn how to play it. I had the full intention to do so as well, but somehow it never happened. I feel that the reason we're slowly giving up on our goals or experiments we wanted to try is not because we're lazy or not passionate about it anymore, but the goals we set for ourselves may be too high to start with. We will think that if I start a vlog, it has to be high quality, it has to be about some exciting trips, or I have to find the perfect illustration style I wanted to learn, or by today, I wanted to play Hotel California, which is my case. And of course, we dream big and then plan how we can make that big dream come true. But soon enough, you will find that idea already crossed inside of your head before we even to try. So because there are so many things potentially that can go wrong, why will we risk disappointing ourselves? And 3 years ago, when I was an electronic arts student, if I thought about the finish line more than the path to it, I would probably even get out of bed in the morning. But luckily, electronic art has taught me something pretty important. Just out of curiosity, any electronic artists in the audience? Maybe enthusiasts or wannabes? No? Okay, cool. So here's an interesting concept. In electronic art, nearly every complex project starting with a tiny LED, and we have to do that to test basic functionality of our code, and then just to check if the hardware is working or not. And so coming back to the graph project I talked about earlier, to make the massive amount of particles reacting to people's movements and positions. And then, so to start with, we usually first wire up a motion sensor and then try to get one LED blinking first if there's any motion detected. And then we'll try something a little bit bigger, like testing out if we can get the data from the motion sensor to the computer, and then maybe make some computer graphics moves. And as you can see over here, as I move my hand, the donut on the screen, which is just a random 3D shape I modeled, it moves accordingly along with it. So at this point, this is nowhere close to the massive tie you just saw at the beginning, which also I had inside my head. But now I have a working idea that my movement will change something on the screen, and that at least I know it will probably work somehow to a bigger project. I later came to realize that the 2 years of electronic arts not only taught me some practical skills, for example, how to solder or how to change a light bulb at home, it also taught me the importance of the approach to a goal. Instead of going from 0 to hero, let's shift our mindset to think about from 0 to 0.1. It's very quick and easy to try, much less scary to start with. And in the case of electronic art, if you do follow a tutorial, you copy paste the exact same code, it might not work. So we usually use that to test something with the minimum effort we could, and then it will help you to try out different things very quickly. And for a lot of heroes we know actually aim for 0 to 0.1 as well. So as you know, Amazon's founder, Jeff Bezos' net worth, who's like over $100 billion US, actually just starting by selling books online. And then right now he has an online retail empire. And Starbucks actually just started by roasting and selling coffee beans in Pike Place Market 51 years ago. Right now, probably a lot of us couldn't imagine life without it. And one thing all these giants have in common is all they started to take a tiny step out first. None of them started to aiming to go big right away. They started to try out their idea with the smallest thing they can experiment with. And that allows you to have the flexibility of turnaround and then reduce the chance of errors. And most importantly, it lessens our emotional burden as well. We're not going to do a big thing. We're not going to just try to be famous within one day. We're just going to test out a small thing we have in mind. And if the worst case, it fails, it doesn't matter because not a lot of people would know. And finally, let's take a step back and look at the goals we wanted to achieve. If you have an idea, try to deconstruct it to be even smaller until you couldn't. Instead of making a vlog with 15 minutes edited footage or wait for the time you actually can travel abroad again, how about just make a 30 seconds reel about a hiking trip you went over the weekends? And now you already got a vlog with that 30 seconds reel. It's still pretty sick, eh? And let's forget about finding the perfect illustration style you wanted to learn or tutorial about it. How about just picking up the dusty Apple Pencil, be sitting on your desk and try to draw some shapes and colors and the lines just to see how it works and draw digitally. What I can tell you is pretty different from drawing on paper. Just testing the water can getting a little bit of progress, and it will help you eventually to tackle bigger challenges. I know this might not be something you have in mind, but at least try it out, and it's the most important thing. And 3 years ago, I was able to wave that motion sensor. We have that little LED lights up. And then I was really thrilled to see the code in action. It proved the methodology I have in mind and my code structure worked. And sometimes it doesn't matter whether you're going to get 300K followers on TikTok or YouTube from the 30 seconds reel you just created. But the most important thing is we didn't sit around with 1,000 different hypotheses of how it possibly go wrong. And then I'm looking forward to celebrate the moments that all of us making from 0 to 0.1, whether it's a 30 seconds reel or a 2-hour movie. Thank you.